So, hello everyone, good afternoon. And as you can see, well, on the screen we have a contact from Los Angeles. But just before I present you our guest, my name is Nick the Nightfly. I'm a musician, I'm a disc jockey. I've been working on Radio Monte Carlo for about 25 years doing a night show. So I'm quite used to interviewing musicians. And the interesting thing is today, I'm not introducing a musician, but what I could say is that tonight, the person who we're going to talk about and who's going to talk to you, in my opinion, he's like the Quincy Jones of advertising. Really, I could say that because recently I met Quincy Jones and I played for Quincy Jones with my orchestra. And what Quincy Jones has achieved in the music throughout his long career is, I think we could say it's something along the similar lines of Lee's creativity in the advertising world. I would just like to add one more thing about Quincy Jones. Actually, Time magazine produced a list of the 10 things that have been sold most throughout the world. And his record with Michael Jackson, Thriller, has sold over 100 million copies legally. And we don't know how many more less than that. And I think Lee has, in his career as global director of Tbwa, and his company, which is one of the 10 most important companies in the world of advertising, has also, I wouldn't say sold, but his advertising campaigns and what they have done for the likes of Apple, as you know, that Lee was a personal friend of Steve Jobs, but he also created some of the most incredible advertising campaigns. For example, when there was the rebirth of Apple with Steve Jobs, Lee's company created the Think Different. And then after that, they collaborated throughout the rest of the history of the brand Apple, things like the iPod. One I love personally was the sticker campaign for the MacBooks and the Airbooks, and then also the iPad, the iPhone. And then we can also talk about other projects that Lee's been involved in with his company, like the Adidas campaigns, which are amazing, even during the last World Cup. And one of my favorite spots, which I saw in a video the other day, was one he did for the Heineken, which I thought was amazing, especially the very end of that. But apart from that, welcome everybody. Welcome to IF. It's a pleasure for me to be with you this afternoon. And the thing is, I'm so used to speaking in Italian now, Lee, and it's quite interesting for me to speak in English. So anyway, would you like to give a round of applause and let's welcome Lee Clow from Los Angeles.
Buongiorno, buon pomeriggio. It's afternoon there. It's morning here. That's all of my Italian, Nick.
Okay. So I know you're a surfer, and you've just got up this morning so you can speak to us here in Milano. And you've not been to the beach, so you decided to stay with us and tell us about your philosophy. And I mean, also your face, the smile you have in your face speaks a little bit, I think, about your philosophy of life.
I've had a very lovely and successful and fulfilling life, and that's why the thing I wanted to talk about today is how lucky we are to be in this business and to love the work we do, because we're kind of lucky people on the planet to be able to do things creative for a living. I hope my sound is okay. Is my sound okay, Nick?
Yeah, it's not too bad. As I think could be better considering the technology we have today, but I think you're okay with the sound, yeah? Yeah, everyone says okay.
Well, you sound great here. I'm sorry mine's raggedy, but by the way, speaking of Quincy Jones, I'm almost as old as Quincy Jones, so I probably have a career. And I think that also kind of is an interesting comment that I'm, almost as old as Quincy Jones, and I'm still doing what I do for a living. I'm getting up every morning and loving the idea of having ideas, loving being in a business where your creativity and creative energy is your product. And I also enjoy being able to talk to and spend the day with young, smart, creative people. You have an audience full of young, smart people. I'd be the oldest one in the room if I were there. But I get to be around young, smart people every day. As people ask me if I'm going to retire, and I always say, well, I think that'd be a big mistake, because then I'd have to hang out with people my age, and that would be pretty tedious. So the idea of and the passion for our work is what I encourage everybody who's at the festival to think about and approach every day when they get up with the love of doing something new, doing something brave, doing something different. When I wake up one morning and don't have any ideas is probably when I'll stop doing this. But right now, I still feel like, and early in the morning is my favorite time. I know musicians like to work in the middle of the night, and I'm different. I think best in the morning, and when we go into late sessions, usually music sessions, I'm a little less focused, but the music people are all pretty dialed in. We just started working with Beats by Dre, which Apple acquired and made part of their brand, and being around music people, as you know, because of your career, is pretty stimulating stuff, and a kind of a different energy than the energy in filmmaking and advertising and storytelling. But all creative energy is exciting to be part of and be around, and so that's the joy of all the years I've spent in this business. Is I've had the lucky experience of dealing with some pretty great clients and some pretty beautiful brands. So to celebrate sports with Adidas, we've done a number of campaigns for them. Is really joyful. You know, if you love sports and the emotion and the feeling of sport, to be able to then craft stories and craft ideas that that celebrate sport is not a bad thing to do for a living. And then, as you said, the luckiest part of my career was the fact that I met Steve Jobs when he was 24 years old, and talk about a passionate, creative person. That guy had more energy than you and I and half your audience combined in terms of his passion for having ideas and doing things. And he always challenged us to, care as much and be as creative as he expected himself to be and he expected his company to be.
Is it true that you met Steve Jobs just once a week throughout, the report you had with Steve for the Apple campaigns, and that was it?
Yeah. Well, no. What happened? I mean, that's very rare, actually. What happened? I worked with Steve the first time he was at Apple, and we introduced the Macintosh, and I'm going to tell a little story later and share a little bit of that work. Where we introduced the world to Macintosh, the computer that started this whole amazing thing. And then he left his company, as we know the story, and went and did a few minor things like Pixar and Next, invented a few other amazing things. And then when he came back to Apple in 1997, Apple was almost out of business. They had mismanaged it to the point where nobody thought Apple was going to ever be a competitor again. And that was when Steve said, we have to meet every week, sit down and talk about what the next message from Apple is to convince the world that we're not going out of business, that we're not, going to go away. And that just continued as a process until we lost him. He wanted to sit down and be hands-on with the advertising and the marketing messages every week, which is so incredibly rare in our business. We can't even get most of our, marketing heads or advertising heads of our clients to want to meet once a week and share and be that open and collaborative. Steve Jobs was the CEO of the company, and he wanted to sit down every week and talk about what we're going to do next. What's the next ad? Is it good enough? I don't like that shot. I think you should change the cut. And, I mean, he was very hands-on and very involved. And that's how he was with everything in the company. Designing the products, designing the software, reinventing the music business. I mean, you can totally relate to the music conversation. He was making computers, but he wanted to have other ideas. And there were MP3 players out there in the world. People were using digital music, but mostly they were stealing it. They were ripping it off of, each other. And Steve decided first to make a great MP3 player. So he made the iPod, this beautiful device that you could navigate through all your songs. And then when it started, you could have 1,000 songs in your pocket. Then it kind of got bigger and bigger. But then he realized that there was no kind of legal way to buy digital music. You could, buy CDs and download them, but so he invented the iTunes store because he wanted people to be able to put music in their iPod and carry it around with them. And as you know, it totally changed the music business. All musicians and the way they distribute, and they're still kind of frustrated by what the music business has become, but it's changed dramatically in terms of how you introduce the world to new music and how people share music and use music. And Apple is still very involved in trying to kind of continue to reinvent the music business and make it serve the artist more, deliver more returns, create mechanisms to discover new artists and whatever. But Steve basically figured out how to change the music business because he made a product and he wanted to make it work as well as it could. So that's the kind. So we met every week, and every time he had a new genius thing to tell the world about, then we went to work and figured out how to do it. So it was quite an amazing ride when he came back in '97 to introduce the world to all this technology that's changed our lives dramatically.
Talking about music again, also I know that you're involved with the Grammys for many years, and I saw an amazing video with help me out, Lee. What's his name? You did a video with Macklemore on a bus. And that went viral on the web. It went everywhere too. That was another amazing idea that you guys had to do that. So obviously today, I know that you also said that this is one, in your opinion, one of the most creative periods of history for people who work in the advertising business because of all the social media and internet.
Yeah, I think the industry is kind of challenged, and the clients are kind of challenged because they don't quite understand or have figured out how the old media and the new media serve their storytelling, serve their brands. A lot of clients think that, okay, well, all the old media is dead and all we need is to use the social media and new media to tell our stories. And then they believe that a lot of advertising agencies are still kind of stuck in the past and kind of only know how to do TV commercials and newspaper ads. So we're in a period that can be and should be the most creative and the most prolific in the history of what we do, because we have so many opportunities, so many channels to tell stories, to express the brand in different ways, surprising ways, like Macklemore jumping up on a bus and playing a song for everybody just to remind them that the Grammys is coming is totally different than, running a TV ad for the Grammys, which we also do. So it should be and can be the most creative period in our business once we all are on the same page in terms of how you use all of these media tools that we have. A lot of clients don't quite understand it yet, and a lot of creative people are a little cautious in terms of of the things they do with the new media tools versus the old. This young audience out there probably is all over it. I'm old, so I'm kind of proud that I've actually figured it out.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of young people in the theater today who are listening to you and are very interested in what you have to say because of your history and what you have done. I don't know if you have any contributions that we could maybe see, or if do you have anything that we could?
I brought one thing with me because it's quite an amazing story, and most people in our business, I have to be honest, will never get an opportunity like I had with Apple Computer, because I was truly involved in changing the world by virtue of what that kid invented and delivered. So here's what I'd like to show you. First, I'd like to show you in 1984, we introduced the world to Macintosh with a commercial that ran on the Super Bowl in the United States called 1984. And some of the audience probably have seen it before, but I'd like to show that to you right now.
Wonderful. Do we have the
video? You got it?
I don't think so, not yet. Do we have the video here in Milano?
Yeah.
You guys press play. They don't have the start button.
They don't know where the start button is. Technology is.
Is it? Just let me know if is it coming or not, or can we continue? Do you have it? Voi l'avete? No. A lot of no. They said they don't have it. Unfortunately, the video here.
We sent it through.
Yeah.
They said they had to show. So ask a go look for it. In the meantime, I'll talk about it, and then maybe they'll find the two films.
Let me just ask the audience if they know this video. By the way, I mean, do you all know the video that at least? I think they know more about you than you do about yourself. They know, but
I want to show the second video, which is the amazing 30 years later story, which not as many of them have seen, but that's why I sent it there. But if they can't run it, then I'm going to have to tell you about what we did. So shall we give them one more chance to find our videos? No?
Yeah.
They don't have it?
They don't have it. But I think today I think people are happy. We're happy to hear.
Go ahead.
Okay, I think people would be happy to. We'll try and find the videos, but they're happy to listen to you speak about, your career, your life, and I think you were talking. You want to talk to us today about, your passion of how can I say, love what you do in life.
So let me tell you, because it's all about how being passionate about what I did and hooking up with a guy, Steve Jobs, who was passionate about what he did, is kind of the proof point of the way creative people should live their life. Be passionate every day about what you do. So the way my story that I was going to share in video that I'm going to tell you about, in 1984, we introduced the world to a computer called Macintosh, which is the way everybody now interacts with computers. It had a mouse and icons and started us down this path of technology. 30 years later, this January was 30 years since we introduced Macintosh. And the whole world has totally changed 30 years after Macintosh in terms of the way we create music, develop music, shoot films, the way we communicate, the way we connect with each other, the amazing devices that we carry around in our pocket that we can, contact each other at the moment's notice. So what we did on Mac's 30th birthday, It was the 24th of January. I got Ridley Scott and his son. Ridley Scott did the original commercial that we did in 1984 that your audience remembers. I got Ridley Scott and his son, and we put together a group of cinematographers around the world. And in one day, on the 24th of January, 2014, we filmed the effect and the impact that Apple technologies had on the world in small and large ways everywhere in the world. And we filmed it all with an iPhone. We filmed the entire thing on an iPhone. So we looked at kids learning. We looked at the Sorbonne people learning in Paris. We watched music being performed in London. That was the music for the commercial. We went to Botswana with a National Geographic team. Anyway, we captured in one day, Mac's birthday, all the things that people are doing around the world using Apple technology, and delivered it on Super Bowl Sunday. So it was quite amazing that we could take a phone and film the entire commercial that 30 years before took a giant, camera and crews and, tons of people. So I wanted to share the film with you, but the idea of filming everywhere in the world is what we did. Found something?
Yeah, I think they found something that we can watch. I don't know what they have. I've no idea. It's probably the Italian football team. But
maybe they don't need to see 1984, but the other film is the making of the 30-year film that we did, the Happy Birthday, Mac.
Voi avete Happy Birthday, Mac? Il secondo vogliamo vedere.
The combo film.
Yeah, I asked them for the second one. So can we play it? Okay, I think they're going to try. They're going to try and play it, Lee. Yeah, it's typical. Sometimes in Italy they say they have it when they don't have it. Because that way the work moves on a little bit. Okay, here I think we have it now. We're going to watch it together.
It's the whole of January 24th for 36 hours, starting in Melbourne, Australia. I want to see the surfer running out at that moment. And finishing on the west coast of the United States of America. As you can see, we got Seattle, Tokyo, Paris, Aspen, Los Angeles. Each crew has one or several iPhones. They have a receiver in a backpack. So we're receiving the data that's being shot for this film through the iPhone, but then we're also simultaneously communicating via FaceTime. It's beautiful like that. With First Assistant Director, that's great. Who is standing next to our cameraman.
It's exciting because it's spontaneous.
That's really nice.
Move off them into that view.
And that's what I love.
Capturing the essence of the moment and it being truthful, as seen through the prism of this device, I think is really rather lovely.
Okay. Yes.
30 later, the entire world has changed because of stuff that we got to tell the world about. Ridley Scott, by the way, is almost as old as Quincy Jones as well, but his son done most of the work on this project. But
amazing.
Joy of being in a creative business, and for me to be around this amazing brand, I can actually feel like I did something semi-important in my life, helping the world discover all these new ways to communicate and create and develop, imagine everything from music to filmmaking. It's all changed because of the stuff I got to tell the world about. So I've had an amazing career, and I think the reason I've succeeded is I came to work every day just kind of loving what I do, passionate about having an idea, helping clients succeed. And that's the wish I have for everyone in the audience today, is that they all realize, one, how lucky we are to be able to use our creative energy to make a living, and two, to wake up and love what they do every morning, because there are a lot of people that work a lot harder for a lot less than we do in this world. So be grateful that you're blessed, and use your talent wisely.
Wonderful. Can I ask you a question? I mean, I work in radio. I've been doing a radio show for about 25 years. I know your advertising is mostly on television, whatever. What are your thoughts on radio, Lee? Are you a radio fan? Do you like radio as a medium? Or?
I listen to music, but that's all changed now. Most music listening is done on these digital services, Spotify and Pandora and Beats Music and iTunes Radio that's part of Apple. I listen to a lot of talk radio and news because it's interesting in terms of that format of being able to have extended conversations. Is maybe more, at least in the U.S., is kind of more the province of radio now than music discovery, which it used to be when I grew up. But radio's kind of it's in a different place in kind of the media world than it was, because it used to be, right up there kind of with television. Now it's used in kind of a different way, and unfortunately, I don't think it's the most creative advertising medium anymore. Probably the smartest radio stuff is actually working with the celebrities or the personalities on radio to kind of deliver certain products to, with your enthusiasm for a product is probably better than a commercial I would create to go on your show. Let me put it that way, because if you could find a sense of why this product made sense to you, and you have a following and you have a loyal audience, probably your sense of a product is probably a better ad on radio now than trying to produce something, with music and theater and voiceover kind of style. So radio's evolved as a medium, but it's still part of the mix.
I was just telling you that. So when you're navigating, just look for Nick the Night Fly, Radio Monte Carlo. So you can, when you're in the morning, you can listen to me in the morning when you're doing your surfing. Listen, I don't know if anyone in the audience would like to ask you a question, because this is not a real interview where it's a question and answer situation. This is very much, how can I say, I'm going along with the flow. So is there anyone here who would like to ask Lee a question? No. They're just happy to listen to you. I don't know how we're doing time-wise or what's happening, because, as I say, I'm well.
Yeah.
I like that. I don't know. This has nothing to do with your career, whatever. But have we ever met?
I don't think.
Have you've been in Italy before? You've worked in Italy with Italian companies and Italian products.
Visited. I haven't really worked in Italy. I go to Cannes many years, for the advertising festival. So I'm in that part of Europe once a year. But I haven't worked with our Nick, who's our creative director at Tbwa Italia, is the one that invited me to be at the festival. I don't know if he's out there. Hi, Nick. But we've never actually done a project together. But I'm watching. They're actually doing very well right now, making some really good ads of their own, winning some awards. So I'm the godfather of this giant network, and I kind of just celebrate when people in different parts of the world do something great.
Well, talking about my personal views on advertising, the advertising in Italy on television, personally, I find it boring because there's not any humor in the Italian advertising. I'm thinking about the commercial you did for Heineken, where the piano turns upside down. I mean, I suppose every country has a different kind of attitude towards advertising. Personally, I love it when there's something that makes you laugh as well in publicity. What are your thoughts on that?
Humor has always been one of the really strong tools in the advertising business. The Heineken commercial you're talking about was actually done in Amsterdam. It was a little part of a kind of looking at ads we've done around the world. But and Heineken's always done very kind of interesting, fun advertising. But again, back to Apple, we did a campaign called Mac and PC, where it was the two characters representing Macintosh and Windows, the Microsoft, alternative to Macintosh. And the two of them, they were very funny and did huge things for the brand. Humor is a great way, because advertising, interrupts people. They're not there to watch ads. They're there to watch the TV show or whatever. So if you interrupt them and then give them a smile, give them a little a laugh, it's always a very good way to get your message across. So I love humor when it's done well, and we've done it a few times successfully, but it's still one of the great tools in communication, whether it's now the videos that show up on YouTube that kind of are, branded content can make brands famous. If you do something funny and it catches fire and travels around the world, you have to make stuff that people want to watch. If you're doing advertising that nobody wants to watch, you're wasting your money.
Listen, Lee, we've come just about to the end of our chat today. I've got a countdown on my left-hand side. So I would like to invite you to come to Milan with everyone in the theater. Come and have a pizza with us or some spaghetti. And then we can see you and meet you and talk about this amazing career that you've had in the advertising world, which is obviously very important for the lives of everyone around us.
Right, well, I would love that. I'm glad I got to join you this morning. I hope I said some things that make sense. Me and Quincy and Ridley are getting a little old, so I could have wandered off. We could be here for hours if you let me kind of go crazy.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you
all.
Thank you very much. Lee Clow, F. Bye-bye, Lee. Thank you.